Hey, my name is David Scaperoth, and I'm going to be talking to you today about our Capstone project, which um, is about arbitrage on liquidity pools for on the Ethereum network. And today we have an MVP that we've created called our Arbitrage Playground, and we are going to show you a little demo. So the first thing is that we have a web page called mydiamondhands.io, and on there you can see that we have a link to Arbitrage Play. You get to it at the top post here or the top menu, or you can do it here on this link. So I'm going to click here and go to the Streamlit app. So the first thing you do is you put this API key in, which you can get freely on etherscan.io. Let's go to that real quick, etherscan.io. And you can sign in and you can get APIs, access to APIs for free. And so there is a free tier for getting started. And so you can get started, log in, and get an API key very easily. Okay. Okay. So then once you get the API key, you can type it in there and you can run analysis. You can keep these defaults the same. You can move those around if you'd like, and we'll explain what's going on there in a second. But let me just run through this real quick. It's fetching data from around the last like 10 hours or so, and then loading the models and doing a predictive simulation over that past data, most recent data. So the data that we've trained on is from a few months ago, and then this data we're pulling is the most recent data that it's not been evaluated on or seen at all at any point. Okay, and then what you see here is two tables of results, which I'll unpack for everyone. And then we have sort of a final plot, which talks about the net gain. And so we'll talk about that. Okay, so the first thing is about potential returns based on your budget. So the first thing is, what is the budget? The budget here is actually about the amount of money I'm willing to spend on any given exchange. So when I'm talking about exchanges, there's two pools, and we're going to do a swap on them. And swap is a very specific term on liquidity pools, but essentially I'm going to buy low on one pool and sell high on another, or at least ideally that's what I'm going to try and do. And I'm going to exchange US dollars for Ether. And to do that, there's a specific type of exchange called a liquidity pool that is used on the Ethereum network, which we're going to take advantage of, or well, we will simulate here, taking advantage of that programmatically. Okay. And so every row of this table is showing a transaction, and it is a past transaction that has actually occurred. And we are going to simulate actually like playing along with actually being the ones who did the swaps on those transactions at that given point in time. And the constraint that we've put on this is that we have come up with a strategy where if the price difference is so high and the cost in fees is low enough, we can derive like a minimum investment in order to overcome the fees essentially. And if we can do that within our budget, we will try and like estimate like how good we do. So with that in mind, let's talk about our potential returns and losses based on our budget, which in this case is $10,000. So that means that in any given transaction, we can invest $10,000. And in exchanges, there is a buying of $10,000 worth of assets approximately, and then exchanging it back and selling it. So in general, you're not losing or making a lot of money relative to that $10,000. Usually it's orders of magnitude less. However, what we are not saying with this budget is that if I spend my $10,000 and I just lose, I'm going to stop trading. In this case, the simulator just continues to go regardless of how much you're losing and lets you see like how good or bad you do. Okay. Okay, so what's happening here, if you look over at this table here on the right, this has a profit column here, which is showing around 17, it's actually the units is dollars. And so for this transaction, the way to read this would be that there's actually a prediction occurring for percent change, which is the difference between the two different pools, like a percentage difference between the prices of the two pools, which indicates that there's an arbitrage opportunity. The sign of that percent difference also indicates which pool to buy or low, buy low, sell high. Okay, and then this actual is a data that we've pulled from Etherscan that says at that timestamp, we actually got a percentage change of this, and then we compare it to see what our actual profit is. Okay, and so there's two things happening. One is we are estimating what a minimum investment opportunity would be, meaning that we're saying if the minimum investment meets our criteria for a budget, meaning that the minimum investment is less than $10,000, we're going to do the swap. And then we say, well, based on this past timestamp, how good did we do? Okay. And so what you can see here is each row has many of the same timestamps, meaning that these are happening, transactions are actually happening multiple times per second, and you just can't see with the date timestamp format that we have here how quickly that is. And so it's actually happening like many times per minute. Okay, and so what you're seeing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 6 times in 1 second, you are actually getting different transactions that are occurring on this pool, which is quite a lot. Okay, so what's happening in these two different tables? So the first thing to mention is that we're looking here and filtering out only things that give us a positive profit. And so we're looking over the last 8 to 10 hours, and we've got like 13,000-ish positive outcomes that we potentially could have gotten from our results from our model. Okay, and then the same is true for the losses, that we've got a negative profit here, and so we look down, and that's somewhere around 13-ish thousand negative profit examples. And so it's roughly half that we're in the black, and then roughly in the red. And so with a $10,000 budget, we are looking like we've made a lot of money if we're basically responsible for every transaction that occurs on that pool, which is not really what would happen, but it gives us a sense that if we did many transactions like this, i.e. 26,000 transactions in this pool with this pattern in mind, we could potentially make a lot of money in net with the gains and losses included. Okay, and so with the simulation, we did something that extends upon the table that we just saw, where the table actually just represents this line right here, this $10,000 line right here, which sort of like looks like it plateaus. And what this is telling us is that we actually are hitting sort of a maximum of that everything that we're looking at, and basically every transaction, we're making good decisions, number one, about the arbitrage. And then the second thing is that we're basically looking at every arbitrage opportunity after about 10,000. And then what it is showing us is that around $4,000 is kind of a cap where arbitrage makes sense, meaning that if you are not willing to invest at least $4,000 into the pools, you're really not going to make any money. And so that is kind of a sort of an important distinction, is you're not going to make a lot of money. Now, it's possible that this curve extends a bit further out the further down you go, but roughly speaking, you can see that the dividends sort of accelerate at around $4,000 into this order of magnitude over time. And so this is the result of running through the simulation with around 26,000 transactions. Okay, and so this is a really favorable result that you're seeing here. And then at a $10,000 budget, you could potentially make quite a bit of money if you're willing to like execute that many transactions over time. Okay, all right, well, this is our demonstration for the arbitrage playground for our Capstone project. Thank you.